two. All right, we are live again. We just had an interruption, so Lester, you can go back and edit this and make it all pretty. Back to you, Gayle.
Okay, so now to remember where I went off into the cyber world, little dark space.
Yeah.
What do you remember?
It was something like if Gayle Kirschenbaum is your mom, you're going to need psychoanalysis, the Indian store nickel, et cetera, et cetera.
So you that was recorded, or should I repeat that?
Just go back and
a little
move
bit.
on.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I ended up making this funny film called My Nose about my mother's relentless campaign to get me to have a nose job. And it's only 13 minutes long, and I never expected this movie to essentially change my life. It played all over the world in festivals. And when I would be at a festival on a panel with other filmmakers, because it's only 13 minutes long, I would get off the stage and there would always be this huge line in front of me. And I knew what they were going to say because they said it over and over again. One is, I love your nose, don't touch it. Two is, I can't stand your mother. How do you talk to her? And I kept thinking, you've hardly seen anything in this little light, fluffy film. And three is, let me tell you my story. And everyone had a story. It didn't have to be about their nose. A woman opened up her coat to show me her weight issues. And her mother was long gone. And she was still attributing her weight issues to her mother. So that's when I realized I'm not alone. People are in pain. People are suffering. It doesn't matter the success you have, the wealth you have, children, grandchildren, whatever you have. If you have not released the anger towards that person who hurt you so much in your youth, and invariably it's a parent and it's very often a mother, then that's affecting all your relationships. It's affecting your life. So I turned to my mother and I felt like tapped. Like maybe you felt tapped to do this podcast series. I felt like a higher power tapped me and said, Gayle, you were born a very sensitive, creative person, a very open person. By the way, I'm only seeing myself now. Are you still hearing me? Okay, I don't see you anymore. Maybe I'm not being recorded. I don't know what's going on. Nathaniel, am I still here? Okay. I can keep talking. Well, I'll just keep talking thinking I'm still being recorded, but I have no idea if I am. What happened here? This is weird. Okay, so I'll just keep going. Oh, maybe you're coming back now.
Keep going.
Just keep going. Okay.
I lost my own visuals. I don't know what's going on with this platform.
Maybe Mercury's in whatever they say when tech goes down.
Yeah.
All right, so where was I? Okay. Yeah, right. We're getting distracted by technology.
Yeah, no problem at all. So,
so my mother agreed to. So I asked my mother, would she be willing? I said, would you be willing to go in camera with me to resolve our relationship? And she said yes. Now I knew I had a gold mine because today, as an elderly person who doesn't have children to worry about, she's become very funny. She lives in adult day camp in a gated community in Boca Raton, and she has the biggest social life I've seen in most people. And I'm a storyteller. I'm an open person. As I started to say, I felt tapped. I felt tapped to do this job. I felt like, I was given everything I needed. I'm open. I'm creative. I'm a storyteller. I have a huge archive. My father was shooting 8mm footage. And who else is going to do this? I had to do this to help people. So I set about making this film, and it ended up being the hardest and most difficult film I ever made because I actually got sick making it. I found my childhood diaries because as a storyteller, I was trying to figure out how am I taking you back without sounding like a whining adult about their childhood. And I knew I'd been keeping diaries since I was a young person where I drew because I was always an artist, and found this box after 3 months of searching. And there it turned out I sat down and read my diaries. And what happened was I relived them. So as an empath, which I'm an empath, which you understand, someone has a lot of empathy, I relived it and I felt it. And I actually developed an autoimmune illness, which is another story. And I was sick for 4 years and no doctor could help me. And I live in New York, great doctors, and I actually healed myself, which is something else I teach. So long story short, I finished this film, Look Us Now, Mother, started playing the festivals, and I started seeing the reaction. I was so overwhelmed by the audience reaction and people coming to me, grabbing me, wanting to tell me their story, thanking me for mine. And that led me to becoming an accidental therapist and becoming a teacher and a coach on forgiveness. I didn't go looking to do the TED Talk. A lot of people email me, how did you get it? How do you write the proposal? How do you pitch? I don't know. Someone came to me. I was very lucky from my film and the reaction to do it. So my mission now and the movement is called No More Drama with Mama, as is the name of the talk I did. So the 3 main steps are understand, reframe, and forgive. And I just speak because I've been going on a long time.
Well, hey, we've been enjoying this talk with Gayle Kirschenbaum. Her talk is called No Drama with Mama, or No More Drama with Mama. We're going to hear a little bit more about her journey to the stage in just a moment for the Blitz Round. And we're back with Gayle Kirschenbaum. It is time for the Blitz Round. I'm going to ask Gayle a couple of either-or questions related to the preparation and performance of her recent talk. Gayle, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. First off, were you invited to speak or did you apply?
I was invited to speak.
Are you a memorizer, an improviser, or a blender?
I guess a blender.
And you walk out on stage. Did you have nerves, or were you in the zone, or neither, or both?
I would say I had nerves. My nerves were about the 15-minute cutoff. She said, if you go over, we stop shooting. And I was worried about that. Good
words from the volunteer and the organizer side of things, for sure. Yeah. Especially to a producer, that you know what that means for sure.
and a talker.
yeah. Okay. What's a tip, tool, or technique that helped you?
Okay. So in crafting there was a book which I'm blanking on. It was a fantastic book. Do you know which book I'm talking about? If you said his name, I'd remember it.
Chris Anderson, the head of TED, wrote an excellent book, which is this one, but there are many other great books as well.
So I don't even know if his book was out. I don't know when that came out, but I read somebody's book and I watched a lot of TED Talks. So it was about structuring it. And so once I got my structure down, I put it to memory. Practice makes perfect. You just have to go over and over and over again. And so don't remember the sentences, but the thoughts, each thought.
This is the cut for time question. What was the most painful part of your talk that you had to cut out?
Well, I actually forgot to say one line, which was a funny line, because I love humor, which was a funny line about my mother. I wasn't going to cut it out, but it was a funny line about my mother. But I think I didn't feel like there was nothing painful. I felt like I was able to trim it and make it work, and I was content with it. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, we've been talking to Gayle Kirschenbaum. Her talk is called No More Drama with Mama. If you want to see that talk, you can go and type that into YouTube, or you can go to our show notes page at BeTheTalk.com. And while you're there, we want you to link to GayleKirschenbaum.com, because that's where you can go to find out where you can see all these great documentaries that Gayle has created. Gayle Kirschenbaum, GayleKirschenbaum.com. And we'll be right back with Gayle Kirschenbaum in just a moment for the 10-second final word of advice. And we're back with Gayle Kirschenbaum. What's the final word of advice for Talk Universe?
Regarding doing a TED Talk? Yes. It's about impact. What is it that you want to share, that you feel you want? What can you teach others? What have you learned that you are dying to teach others? That's the most important thing. And then go to your heart. Always go to your heart.
Gayle Kirschenbaum, thank you so much for carving out time to come on the talk today and share your wisdom with Talk Universe.
Thank you for inviting me.
All right, that's a wrap. We got through it. We overcame this weird technical thing.
Yeah, Mercury could be in retrograde. We need to Google it.
Akshobh, man, we are going to conquer this tech piece together. Any advice for Akshobh here?
Who's this?
Akshobh is on deck here. Here he is.
Oh.
Hey, hi. How's it going?
Very well. Any advice for Akshobh, Gayle?
Oh, regarding a TED Talk?
No, regarding the interview. Regarding the interview. Yeah, what I've just put you through.
Oh, he didn't hear. Oh, well, we had a few moments of being disconnected. But if you
I
go
saw
to,
that.
oh, you just see that.
I think
Okay.
everybody saw that.
So I wasn't
I
sure
did.
when I went to full screen if I was still being recorded as I was speaking to myself. Do I go
That's why I
on?
have the backup recorder, so I got all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So is the message here or the advice, Nate, you would be better at giving it. If you go full screen, just keep talking like nothing happened. Okay. So
That's probably the best thing to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's like television all over again. You just got to keep going, no matter what.
Yes.
The camera's always rolling.
Yeah.
Oh, I think Nathan's lost. Oh, there
No,
he is.
I'm trying to get back over
There
on
you
the
are.
left. Gayle, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm gonna escort all of us back to the green room, the Gayle Kirschenbaum green room, as it will be known from now on. And I want to get back on the left, and then
Oh, I have no idea what's happening here.
I am trying to get on the left,
Nathan,
and it
are
keeps
you
wanting to
here,
put
or-
me on the right here.
Hey,
So I'm gonna put all three of us in the green room, and then I'm gonna put you over on the right first, and then I'm gonna get on the left, and then we're gonna jump in here. All right, I'm back on the left, where I need to be. Can you see me, Akshobh?
hey, Nathan. Sorry, I lost you there for a bit. I just heard my name, but
Okay, no
great
problem.
to be with you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I need to quickly pronounce your last name.
Okay, it's a spelling bee for the win. In case you want to know why we went spelling bees, we get a head start with names like this.
Okay.
It's Giridharadas.
Giridharadas.
Yes, perfect. Just say it that way. So it's Akshobh Giridharadas.
Akshobh Giridharadas. All right.
Perfect. But you know what? I'm the only one with my name and the only one with my last name. So literally 1 in a billion.
All right. Excellent, man. Well, that's a good thing to have for sure. We are going to jump in on this in 3, 2. We are live with Akshobh Giridharadas. Akshobh, are you ready to talk?
I most certainly am, Nathan.
So Akshobh Giridharadas is a journalist by profession. He was based out of Singapore as a reporter and producer with Channel News Asia, Singapore, covering international business news. He writes on diverse topics such as geopolitics, business, tech, and sports. You can follow him at Akshobh, and we'll have that in the show notes. Akshobh Giridharadas, welcome to the talk.
Thanks, Nathan. Thanks for having me. Pleasure to be here.
So your talk is called The Changing Face of Journalism, and you, sir, have done a really amazing job of letting all of us know why all of this turmoil in the media, the fake news, et cetera, has been coming about. In a nutshell, it's really about quantity instead of quality and the amateurization of these technologies that let all of us in 140 tweet characters become little quote unquote journalists ourselves. That's my really short summary of your talk, but please, Akshobh, take us behind the talk.
Yeah, when I was approached to first do it, I thought to myself initially, I'm not some Pulitzer Prize winning journalist. I haven't really been in Syria or Iraq or put my life on the lines. And I'm not going to glorify the profession I'm in. And there are plenty of people who've done that. But what I thought was, what are the key issues that I face? Why is my disenchantment and disenfranchisement with the whole media industry at large? And I just thought of the fact that, when I was in journalism school, it was all about, being this fourth estate, this fourth pillar of democracy, being the change agent. You come in to kind of make a difference, to give a voice to the downtrodden, to stand up to authorities. But more and more in the newsroom, that was disappearing. It just became like any other job. It became a monkey see, monkey do. And unfortunately, this was not meant to be any other job. And it was about journalism having an identity crisis by itself. It became, especially the onslaught of the 24-hour news media, as you said, social media, and the fact that journalism today, what I call a very anachronistic profession. Back in the day, it was you needed newspapers, you needed television channels to inform you what was happening. But today, news is on demand. You want information, what you want, when you want, how you want it. If you just go back to the days of the 40s and 50s when Walter Cronkite told you something happened, you listen to him. People tune into their transistors to know when World War II broke out because it was one-way information traffic. Today, I mean, someone's Twitter profile is veracity, it's news. And in one way, it's good because social media is homogenized news. I mean, you don't, what Woodward and Bernstein went through to get Deep Throat to get those inside information. Today, we all have various sources. But the fact that anything today is news, it kind of city of what really makes it news. And I think what we find right now is we live in an era of yellow journalism, so a quality profession.
Yeah, absolutely, Akshobh. So you mentioned in your talk that
Yeah.
the same technology that actually proliferates journalism disrupts it. And you're already explaining why that is because of the proliferation of social media and everything else. Is there any way that the media industry could have avoided this? Or is it trying to figure out its way out of its own existential crisis right now? What's the state of things?
Yeah, I would definitely touch on what you said. I think it's definitely trying to figure out its own. It's like going through an existential crisis, and I think the first step to solving a problem is to start by acknowledging where the problem is. And I think a lot of media houses do not acknowledge where the problem is because what happens with the whole economy and this whole innovation and disruption and tech economy we live in is you have to evolve at every stage. Now, journalism, because it was there since time immemorial, news has always been around since time immemorial. It's always followed an advertising only formula. And advertisers, it was advertiser, newspaper to you, Nathan, the end consumer. It was only a one-way traffic. But now advertisers today don't need to come to newspapers anymore because they have a variety of multimedia, right? Starting from Google and Facebook being bigger platforms to carry the ads, more eyeballs. So journalism today is struggling to get the revenue. And when you struggle to get the revenue, you struggle to monetize it, you struggle to stay relevant. So there is a lot of over-the-top sensationalism that happens. And because of that happening, the quality of information, the quality of discourse gets reduced. Like your podcast is a great example of just having a conversation for the sake of having a conversation, for getting to understand people, getting to understand the thought process behind it. We don't see that kind of quality discourse across mainstream news channels anymore. It's a lot about sensationalism. It's a lot about a lot about blowing it over the top. It's not about having a good panel discussion because there's something intellectual there. Let's take that thought process and explore it further. It's about a short snippet, short sound bites. It's about the primetime bulletins getting advertising. It's about the quest for TRPs, television rating points, and whoever speaks the loudest apparently thinks they're the most accurate, but that's not the case. So I wanted to really touch on something like this. And what really astounded me was when I finished journalism school a few years ago. There are 50 people in my class, out of which more than 47, 48 are no longer in any form of journalism whatsoever. There are barely one or two left. And we all joined in as change agents. And what we all got in to try to be, change agents, but we come out disenchanted more and more. And when a profession does that, there's clearly something wrong with it. The way we looked at the Wall Street crisis in 2008, and we said, there's something wrong with the banking and finance industry if, they're the top 1%. I think journalism needs to identify what's happening. We already have this era of fake news. We have this era of sensationalism. I think it's the press editors, the newspaper, the head media honchos need to sit aside and decide what's happening.
Yeah, well, and in a nutshell, if you take a solid revenue stream like we had 30 years ago and yank that out so that there's only a small fraction, it really explains all the chaos that's going on, correct?
Absolutely, because if you think about it, right, and this is what I kind of touched upon the talk, is because journalism has always survived on one mainstream news sources, or maybe two, that is advertising and circulation. Now, circulation has obviously fallen down. Nathan, just go online and you just go onto the Guardian, for example. You read the end of the Guardian. There's a cry for help at the end, saying now that you're here, an article subscription to the Guardian costs less than a cappuccino. It's a cry for help. The New York Times says, please, subscribe. Wall Street Journal says subscribe. Now, I, as a subscriber, would love to, pay on more. But someone else, hypothetically, someone's like, hang on a minute, why should I subscribe, pay $100 for New York Times when I can use $100 for, a night out at a bar or a couple of Uber rides or pay my telephone bill with it? You attribute money with sources that you feel that you can't get anywhere else. I mean, this iPhone that I'm talking to you on, I can't get a cheap substitution anywhere else, so I'm going to pay money for it. But for the New York Times, you're like, hang on a minute, I can get news through social media. It may not be good analysis, but if I just want to know what's happening in Washington, I just go onto social media and I'll get my snippets and I form my own opinions. We don't attribute enough. Go on, sorry.
Yeah. Well, no, finish it up because we're going to pivot and wanted you to wrap that piece up as well.
Yeah, because I just feel that we do not attribute, because how do you monetize good intellectual content? And that's something, Nathan, you can weigh on as well. Having a conversation for the sake of having a conversation, bringing light, bringing stories to light, which, haven't really been told before. Because everyone looks at what's in it, what's the revenue stream, how can we get sponsorship? And when the revenue stream doesn't add up, the story gets diluted. So it's a really bad scenario right now, and that it's a very scary scenario. I mean, news will exist, it just won't come from traditional newsrooms anymore.
Well, we've been enjoying this conversation, lamenting the demise of traditional journalism and wondering what's next with journalist Akshobh Giridharadas. And we're going to talk more with Akshobh on the Blitz Round in just a moment. And we're back with the Blitz Round with Akshobh Giridharadas. And we are going to ask Akshobh a series of either or questions related to the preparation and performance of his recent talk. Akshobh, are you ready?
I am.
Were you invited to apply, or were you invited to speak, or did you apply?
I was invited to speak.
Are you a memorizer, an improviser, or a blender?
I would say a bit of both, a blender perhaps. I improvise on the spot, but I also remember the key points.
So you walk out on stage. Did you have nerves, or were you in the zone, or neither, or both?
Initially, I did, because the lights are just up on you, and where your friends are seated, and you always get one friend going like doing that, and and they say don't take flash photography, and then suddenly someone will take a flash photography. I knew how animals at the zoo feel like now because I just got thrown off. So what so what I did was just to look generally at the audience, but not look at anyone's face. So there was a bit of nerves, but once I got in the zone, I just kind of went with it.
Well, the zone is a great place to be. I love that you said don't look at anybody's face and watch out for those flashes of light. Aside from that, what's a tip, tool, or technique that helped you, Akshobh?
What really helped me was just to understand the fact that you don't get invited to a TEDx talk every day. You don't. This is a great platform. You have purely 15 minutes, and purely 15 minutes to spread an idea. Now, I've done broadcast before, but I was always sharing the stage with someone, that is interviewing someone or being on a play. But this is purely your 15 minutes. You have attention spans are so less these days, and 15 minutes people are listening to you. So use that time wisely, and I think that's what gave me the confidence to kind of spread an idea.
Well, and that's very interesting because even for me, when I go and I don't do guest interviews all that often, but when I'm on the other side of the interview, or if I'm given a talk, instead of interviewing someone as a journalist, how did you have to pivot? Because this was your talk, this was your show for those 15 minutes.
Yeah, it's interesting because I kind of said that, look, coming back to this 15 minutes, it's grandiose to think you can even try and change the world. But as Ted says, 15 minutes to spread an idea is what's spreading, and this is what my idea of what's spreading was. What I decided was I'm going to keep it more I wouldn't want to say conversational, but keep it more, raise the thought-provoking questions, because I'm not going to inundate my audience with a lot of slides because I don't want to make it like a class lecture series. And the humility factor is you are in an audience at a university with the professors who are way more qualified and smarter than you. So talk to them like you're telling a story, and journalism is about the art of storytelling. So I decided to say, let me tell a story. Let me take them on a path like the Wizard of Oz. Come follow me on this journey, and let's see where we go.
Here's my last question. What was the most unexpected, strange, or just plain weird thing that happened during or right before in your talk, Akshobh?
Yeah, I think there were two things. Perhaps the first thing was at one point during my rehearsal, my friends, my speaking coaches told me, to ask an opinion poll and question. Now, I was a little afraid that if I asked an opinion poll and question, if no one raised their hands, how would I improvise on that? So I had to kind of work a way to improvise on that, because because when you're talking to 1,600 people, no one really wants to put their hand up to answer something. And the second part is we played a clip from a John Oliver series. There was a bit of a pause between when I said now this clip and when the clip rolled. So that was a little awkward 2 minutes of tech, and you know all about tech glitches. So I think that was a weird part. But in the final post-production, it came out well.
Well, and you said 1,600 people. Did I hear that correctly? That's a large
Yes.
event. Big
Yeah,
event.
it was the whole Nanyang Technological University Auditorium in Singapore. It's the MIT of Singapore of sorts, and it was sold out. So the auditorium capacity is around 1,600, and there were people on the wait list. So the exact number could have been give or take 100, 200 here and there, but that's sort of what we know is the auditorium capacity.
We've been enjoying the Blitz round with Akshobh Giridharadas. His talk is called The Changing Face of Journalism. It's a worthwhile talk to watch, and you can go to our website at BeTheTalk.com. We will have a link for you to watch that, as well as you can connect with Akshobh's LinkedIn profile. We'll have that in the notes as well, and we will be back in just a moment with Akshobh Giridharadas and the 10-second final word of advice. And we're back with Akshobh Giridharadas. It is time for the final word of advice.
Just touching on what you said, Nathan. I mean, and not to beat a flawed horse, but you know, TED is a unique platform because what I realized with TED is it's not about who you are; it's about what you have to say. And one of the best TED talks I've seen is about two women who became good friends. One lost her son in the 9/11 terror attacks, and the other was a mother of one of the accused. They have a very unusual friendship because it's almost nothing in common, but they formed a friendship. Now, they're not curing cancer or sending rockets to the moon, but they're sharing a story. So when you have a chance to go up there, share your story, because even if people disagree with you, even if the whole world disagrees with you, for that 15 minutes, you're not going to be interrupted. Even if World War III breaks out outside, that 15 minutes is purely yours. So use that 15 minutes wisely, spread an idea, share your thoughts, take people on a journey, and the rest will be history after that. Whether people agree or disagree is secondary, but that 15 minutes is purely yours. Enjoy it, embrace the nerves, and tell a story.
Akshobh Giridharadas, thank you so much for coming on the talk today and sharing your wisdom with Talk Universe.
Nathan, the pleasure is all mine. Thank you for having me.
All right. Very
Thanks.
good.
How was that?
Yeah,
Was
it was
that all
great.
right?
It was great. I am going to shut down.